special guest. So if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about Shark Wheel.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Super happy to be here. My name is Zack Fleishman and my company is called Shark Wheel. We reinvented the wheel. We have a new shaped wheel. We have the only wheel in the entire world that sells that is not circular. And it's actually based on things found in nature. So that's the wheel we have. It's a sine wave shape. It's been scientifically tested, real world tested to outperform the normal circular wheel in almost every single category. So we have a fun product, and you'll start seeing the Shark Wheel in many different markets, from skateboarding, roller skates, luggage, farming equipment, medical equipment, and the list goes on.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then Zack was actually here, and I think it was February, right? You came to Cal Poly Pomona to speak.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so if any of you were there, it was really moving for me hearing more about how crowdfunding could be used even to get buy-in, I think at first from people, and then marketing out that product. And it really is incredible. I was just very impressed. So thank you for being here. And so we'll go over to our students now. So Tate, would you mind introducing yourself? Please say your name, major, your school year, and then maybe some concern that you have career-wise at the moment.
Oops. My name is Tade Agakin. I'm an electrical engineer. This is my 4th year, so I'll be graduating after this semester. And maybe a concern right now is just there are all these career fairs and like events like these preparing us to apply and get hired and start working for various companies. But with this isolation happening, our company's still hiring. Should we continue applying even? Or should we just wait it out? Or what's the next?
That's a great question. It's a great question. And in preparation, I can give you my personal opinion, which I most definitely will. And I'll also give you a research opinion that I did getting ready for this talk. And being completely honest, it took me about 5 minutes to figure this out. And it was a very exciting answer that I have for you. And basically what I did was I went on Indeed.com, which is, I believe, the biggest website to find job postings. There's also ZipRecruiter. There's a ton of other competing ones as well. Those are probably the 2 biggest, at least that I know about. So I jumped on Indeed.com. I went on a 100-mile radius from where I'm currently sitting right now. Now, obviously, with a remote job, you can do the entire United States, but I only did just a 100-mile radius just to see what the job listings look like as of today. And I did this morning. And what I found was in remote jobs, specifically for engineering, there are over 1,300 listings posted that are active today within a 100-mile radius for remote engineers. That's on one job site. And that's in a very small radius compared to the entire country. So those are paying positions. When you talk about internships, obviously that opens a whole new floodgate of opportunities. But I can confidently and accurately say that there's over 1,300 job postings on one website as of today for engineering for remote workers right now. So, when you talk about entry-level positions, which you would be coming out of school, I think that's actually to your advantage. In the world that we are in today, not only is everything going online, and if you look at us, I think we're all at home talking over the computers here, at least most of us are. The world's moving remotely, and the world, all these businesses, they are cash strapped. They're, everybody's struggling. And any way that they can save money possible is what they're looking for. So whether that is an unpaid internship, whether it is an entry-level position, people are looking to save money. And as unfortunate it might be for some people that have, advanced engineering degrees, I would almost imagine that they're having a more difficult time than entry-level positions at the moment to get jobs.
Thank you so much for doing that research, Zack. That is really comforting, I think, being able to just say, in a quick search. And that's what I've found too. we're still getting job postings to handshake, you know, every day. And we still have engineering companies reaching out to my colleagues and I. And so not to say that the market isn't more competitive, but I would never ask that you stop applying. You should definitely keep applying. If for no other reason, know that if other people are saying like, should I keep applying? And then they stop, that's one less competitor for you, right? So I would encourage that, and know that we're here to support you as well. I'm still doing resume checks. If you want to do mock interviews or anything like that, you know, we're here to support you. Okay. All right. So Tuan, would you please introduce yourself next? Name, major, school year, and then a concern that you're facing career-wise.
Hello everyone. I'm Tuan Lam. Yeah, I'm a senior student in the company, and my major is mechanical engineering. I just want to learn and gain some experience from you guys, so to prepare for my future career. I'm looking for the internship in this summer, and also I want to prepare myself for the future career, because I'm planning to graduate in December of this year. So that's it.
Yeah, so I guess regarding internships, it's easy for me to speak firsthand about that. We have a fairly new intern that we have from Cal Poly Pomona. So Shark Wheel brought on an individual that we met at our February talk over there in person, and he was a great asset to the team. He's done an incredible job. And this was before all of this, you know, craziness went down. And I could only imagine that interns have an even greater leg up on the competition than an entry-level position, because as I mentioned before, companies, you know, they're struggling. Every company's struggling right now, unless you're, I guess, Amazon or Costco. So every company is pretty much struggling out there, and to be able to have a reciprocal relationship that benefits both parties, I think is the most attractive position out there. So from small businesses to even larger businesses, to be able to get experience from your side and to be able to build your resume from an internship perspective, I think is going to be a, you know, relatively easy thing to accomplish. Businesses need help right now. They really need help. And this is one of the ways that from their perspective, they can get help and not have to put out as, you know, as much funds as they would have otherwise. So I think you're actually in a really good position time-wise for what you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for that question, Tuan. So Tuan and I are actually meeting yesterday, so I know a little bit more about, you know, your background in terms of how you've done sales engineering in the past and how you've done works at various companies in Vietnam as well for engineering. And so I think that, again, knowing what your story is and being able to communicate that, I think will be a huge value add when you're reaching out to these employers and saying, you know, I am interested in interning, and what challenges are you facing? How can I help? You know. Okay, and so bless you. All right, next one. I'm so sorry. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but the initials are AA. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Uraipan Akson. I am a computer science major, but I'm here today to start to listen a new idea and also listen how can I prepare myself for internship, which I'll be applying for fall semester, which is coming up soon. Yeah, so being here today and listen to kind of like help me to see like how internship would work and how would it benefit me and how the company think to look for people that like work with them. So that's why I'm here today. Thank you.
I mean, Alexis, you might want to help me out on this one, but I can tell you when we brought on the Cal Poly intern into Shark Wheel, you know, I read up on the laws of the state of California on how internships are working, because the laws are constantly changing. And one of the important things to note, which is which is very important from the intern side, is that the company must commit time to make it as beneficial as possible. I should probably have it pulled up so I could speak in a more professional manner, but I'm going off the top of my head. Basically, the company has to allocate enough time and resources to be able to train you and to teach you and to help you grow in the particular segment that you're trying to work on. So they are mandated to not just use your services, but to train you and to teach you as much as they possibly can. And that's where the reciprocal nature of the internship comes in with the company, is the company's benefiting from getting work done, and the intern is benefiting from not only building their resume, but also learning the processes, the procedures, and learning all about, you know, how each skill gets done within an actual company.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that. And just in case anyone's interested, I'll share my screen really fast. So this was released, it's internship programs under the Fair Labor Standards Act. So it's talking about the test for unpaid interns. And basically internships, yes, they need to show that the primary beneficiary, you know, is the student. Not to say that it isn't mutual, but so they have a few guidelines, and I think this was a result. This is getting like too deep, but we had some folks in entertainment who I guess were, you know, extorting interns in maybe like 2011 or something like that. So they have been amping up their guidelines ever since. So just know that you could Google this, I think, pretty easily if you're interested. But in terms of just internships in general, what do people look for? I think always trying to think from the employer's perspective, just exactly as Zach said. I think that in this time, people are looking and they're facing, you know, unprecedented challenges. And so if you can come in and you can say, this is the value that I can add to you, they're far more likely to take you on, train you. And this is only to your benefits. When you think about internships, the more internships you have is the better your outcomes statistics show when you graduate in terms of getting that, you know, first entry level position. And it's better for the employer as well. So, you know, a month ago, I would have told you that people are using internships as a pipeline for talent, which I think is still true, just because it's a kind of a great longer interview that you have, right? You get to show people your work ethic, that you're smart, that you're committed. And then again, the statistics on it are really, really good. Like if you are an intern and you get converted to a full-time hire, the chances of you staying for 5+ years are much higher than hiring someone, you know, out of nowhere, right? And so it's really for the employer's benefit and yours to have these internship type experiences. And again, you know, I'm here to support you in preparing for that application process as well. And so Zach, actually, that brings me to one more question before we get to Osvaldo, which is someone posted on Instagram when we were advertising this, a question which was, you know, does Shark Wheel ever take interns? I think you've answered that. And then what do you look for in an intern?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, the easy answer is Sharkwell does look for interns. We recently have one, as I mentioned earlier. And what are we looking for? So every company in the world is looking for talent. Talent is, you know, hard to come by. And I'll give a somewhat of a long-winded answer and come back to my point at the end. But Sharkwheel has been fortunate enough to win multiple government grants for a farming wheel. So we have a very innovative farming wheel that saves farmers over $26,000 per farming season. And that's a big deal. And what we did was the government has been incredible putting us through courses. So I've flown out to Washington, D.C. multiple times and gone through several different courses and learned about the newest ways that businesses succeed. And I've seen all the data and all the stats and how businesses have gone from the traditional business plan on mapping out their entire company plan before they even start to having a whole new plan, which is actually going to the customer first, finding out what the customers want, and then working backwards. Actually, it's almost the opposite of how business used to be run. They have all the stats on how businesses succeed, and the old business model of just planning out your whole future before you even start is not the best way to run a business. And the best way is to find out what customers want and to perform customer discovery interviews and to not just develop something that's a great product in your mind, but to develop a great product that customers are willing to buy, and finding out what price they're willing to buy at before you even make it. And that is the new process that the government puts all government grantees through, and it's really an incredible thing. And it's my long-winded way to come back to say, it's almost backwards of what things used to be. And when an intern comes in to interview with a company, really the best way to go about any service, whether it's an internship or even potentially a paid job, is to show your worth and your value before you ever get paid. So when Sharkwheel does business with a Fortune 500 company, which we're doing with quite a few of them, we want to prove that our wheel works before we make it, before they have to spend one penny. We say, look, this is how much confidence we have in our wheel. We know it's going to perform better than your current solution, and we're willing to stand behind those words and prove it. You do not have to pay one penny out of pocket. We're going to deliver a better wheel to you. And after you test it, and after you're confident, and after you see the return on investment that you're going to have, then we'll charge you at that point only. And that's essentially what an intern is looking to do. They're saying, hey, look, we're coming here, we're going to work for you for free. And in return for that, yes, we're building our resume, we're acquiring new skills for the future. But we're also, as Alexis said, it's kind of a pipeline. It's like a long interview. And if I was an intern and I was in that position right now, I would take that same line of thought, which is, look, I'm here, I'm going to put in so much effort, and I'm going to show this company that I'm so talented that they can't deny me, that they actually need my services. And that's what you need to do, is to show that, your worth and your value, because companies cannot part with talent. If they cannot part with a piece of the puzzle that's helping grow the company. So that's the mindset that I would take in business, from the business side and from the intern side, is showing how valuable you are.
100%. Thank you so much for sharing that perspective. I think that's really true. And that's why, in my appointments with you, for those of you who've had them, we really try to focus on what is your unique value, what do you have to offer? So bringing that into your resumes, your cover letters, your interview, I think that is critical. And sometimes it's a matter of just figuring out what that is. Because I think, generally speaking, I love all of you at Cal Poly Pomona so very much. And I think one of the charming things about all of you is that you're very humble. I think in general, the students I meet with are very humble. So being able to talk about yourself and explain the value that you have can sometimes feel a little unnatural. So just know, again, we're here to help you. I think that's something that is my value that I can add to you, is being able to identify what your unique value is. So know that. Thank you, Zach. And then Osvaldo, thanks so much for your patience. If you wouldn't mind, again, introducing yourself, main, major, school year, and then your career concern.
Well, yes, my name is Osvaldo Tovar. I'm a third-year mechanical engineer here at Cal Poly Pomona. I do have a couple of questions, but my first question is related more to internships. So I noticed a lot of posting have been posted online regarding internship opportunities. And one of my questions is, should we still apply even if we don't meet all of their qualifications? I know some are looking for certain skill sets that us as people applying for internships don't really have much experience of. Would you still recommend us to apply?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would even take it one step further. And first of all, my short answer is yes, I would absolutely apply. There's no downside whatsoever. My longer answer is that even on these job websites like Indeed.com and ZipRecruiter and the many other ones, I would, if it was me, what I would do would be to scour through those listings. And even if they're paid positions, even if they're 10 years of experience type positions, I would still apply through there and say, hey, I don't have the 10 years of experience in the workplace, but I am I am willing to work as an intern, and this is why I could really help your company. And this is, this is A, B, and C reasons why you should hire me as an intern. I know you didn't post this looking for an intern, but given the current state of affairs in the world, I could provide value for you. And that's what I would do. I'd take it that step further and not only apply for something that says intern. I think there's so many companies out there that don't know how to find an intern. And they would be jumping at the bit to find you. And instead of them finding you, I think you can find them. So I would take it that step further. And I think it also shows cleverness. I think it shows that you're going a step beyond, because you're not just replying to an intern posting. You're replying in a place that they weren't even expecting to hear from you. And also the competition will be much smaller. I don't think anybody's going to be doing that.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. I love that. I haven't heard, that idea before, but that's such a good one, being able to proactively see, yes, they're recruiting for X full-time position, but you're absolutely right. In the state of affairs that things are right now, people might be willing to take on an intern instead if you can sufficiently explain, I meet, all of this criteria, maybe 80% or whatever, 60% of what was listed, and I bring XYZ to the table. So being able to state that, I think, could be a really powerful and effective way.
And to expand on it just really quickly, I would, and this goes for all listings and postings and replies, and I'm sure Alexis goes over all the great stuff with you, and I'm not an expert and she is, but I will add my 2 cents that I would be very careful not to do any copy and paste type stuff. And I would be very specific to what they're looking for. Almost tell them what they want to hear. And you can figure what that is by doing, 3 minutes of research on the company. That extra 3 minutes of research on the company and really seeing who they are and maybe what they're looking for, and tailoring your response specifically to them where they know it's not just copy and paste, would go a long way.
Yes, 1,000%. So yeah, any of you who have met with me, I say, like, employers, companies are allergic to the generic stuff, right? They have systems that purposely weed out that seemingly generic, resume blast across industries for every kind of mechanical engineering position, right? So you do definitely, look at the company, just as Zach said, look at maybe their social media presence, their website, their mission, the position particularly, and if they've been in the news, and then, tailor your response to, or your reach out in terms of that, because again, that's showing something about your value, your ability to know, and so that they can imagine, okay, this person's really done their homework, they're really interested. And it's not going to be a 100%, batting average on this, right? But it's just getting into that habit of creating opportunities for yourself. I think it's a really, really good point. Thank you, Zach. Okay, so Armando, thanks for joining the call. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, name, major, school year, and then your career concern.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Armando Suarez. I'm a third-year mechanical engineering major at Cal Poly Pomona. Yeah. And, I'm proud for all these late open forums that Alexis has hosted. And thank you, Zach, for taking the time out of your day to join us.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Armando, did you have any particular questions that you wanted Zach to answer?
I know I kind of came in late. I don't know if I will be repeating a question that was asked before, but pretty much, Zach, what's your whole 2 cents on this when it comes to specifically job searching and everything? How does the whole scenario change the game plan?
And yeah, we did cover that, but happy to give you a quick answer on it. I think it works to your advantage. I think it really does. I think that whether you're looking for an internship or the entry-level position, it's to your advantage. The time is right to, for companies to spend less money or to spend zero money right now. And I think that I gave out just a couple basic suggestions of going on Indeed.com or ZipRecruiter or anything that's similar, and applying for not only intern type positions, but applying for an intern position through an actual job posting, no matter how much experience is required. Because people are looking for talent, they're looking to grow their company, they're still trying to work as hard as they can right now, and any help they can get will be appreciated. And like Alexis said, you're not going to have a perfect batting average, but if you put in the work and it is a numbers game, I can assure you you're going to find something good. you know, if you put in the work. So I think the time is right for the entry-level positions and the internships.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Zach. So I have a few pre-prepared questions. I think we've answered most of them, but here's another. Do you have any thoughts on how students can continue to develop professionally in this fully remote environment? It's a question I'm getting a lot from folks as they're saying, you know, I was part of this club, but we're not meeting anymore. Or I was planning to do X in a group, but now we can't get together. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I guess there's two ways to develop professionally that I can think of off the top of my head, and that is, you know, doing what we've been talking about, which is, you know, joining a company and getting that real world experience. And everybody knows it's a remote world right now. So what you're currently looking for, the companies are looking for too. So from that, you know, from tailored specific, you know, replies to these job listings or from these intern listings, and that's a great way to develop professionally. And then I'm sure there's another way to develop professionally that's not working, you know, with a company, but it's working with CPP or any other organizations out there. If you are feeling those thoughts, and Alexis is getting many of those questions, there's many people out there that are feeling the same way, and they're trying to develop professionally too. So there's a whole group of people out there with the same line of thinking, and it's really about trying to get in touch with those people. And if you are struggling to find those portals on where that exists, I would create it yourself. Create it yourself and start trying to spread it like wildfire instead of just looking. So I would take that proactive approach and say, hey, maybe we'll create our own project, and why don't we almost like crowdsource it and get a bunch, you know, big group in, and let's tackle an issue together remotely and try to figure out how we can do that. And I think, you know, group think is much better. You know, they say two minds are greater than one, and you know, if you can get 100 minds, 1,000 minds together, you can do some pretty cool stuff. So I think that the potential is limitless, and you know, you just have to think outside the box a little bit.
Yeah, that's so true. I absolutely agree with that, that there is definitely a lot of thought being put in from companies across industries about how can we continue to make the world a better place in this time, right? So you have helpingengineers.com, I can't quite remember, but if you Google helping engineers, it's a network of engineers who are getting together to try to figure out, you know, how can we help to fight COVID-19? I know Shark Wheel particularly is doing something around that as well. And, you know, I would love to hear more about that too, Zach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Alexis. I'll touch on it after. Go ahead.
Sure. And so there are a lot of groups, I think, online that are looking for that kind of crowdsourcing thought ideas, right, that are going to help to improve our society at the moment, and just engineer those problem solving skills, right? So we have a problem that we're facing. What kinds of solutions can we come up with? I know yesterday Cal Poly Pomona released, you know, CPP Together. It's this video, you know, explaining, you know, we're Broncos, we're still in this together, all of that kind of thing. And down at the bottom, it showed podcasts that have, you know, recently been started, some of them in light of COVID-19. And so I know some student groups are getting together to talk about, you know, what is it to be an engineering student at Cal Poly Pomona at this time, or just other things like that. And that's something that you can do totally remotely, you know. So there are definitely opportunities to get involved in groups. We haven't talked about it yet, but, you know, remote networking, if you don't have LinkedIn, I recommend now, I think is a good time to start building out your LinkedIn profile, joining groups and just being part of that, yeah, that virtual community. And then Zach, yeah, if you wouldn't mind sharing more about what Shark Wheel's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to touch on the LinkedIn thing, I think that's absolutely essential. I'm on LinkedIn every single day. I think it's the most important website for the business world. So LinkedIn is should be number one on your list. Anybody that's going to try to check you out from, you know, business perspective, if you're applying for a job or an internship, they're looking for you on LinkedIn. So I would put that as number one on my list. But to go back to that question about crowdsourcing and finding ways to develop professionally, this is a little bit of an outside the box thing, but Shark Wheel has taken it upon themselves to create face shields for the medical community 100% free of charge. So it started off as kind of a smaller idea, and it grew into a larger idea, and we started a GoFundMe campaign to raise money so we could buy 3D printers, materials, and start trying to create over 100 face shields per day. That's our goal. And we're ramping up to do that. Hopefully within a week, we think we can start doing over 100 a day. It takes a little time to get it going, but we've already produced probably 80 parts so far within the last few days. And what's happened is by launching this GoFundMe campaign, multiple hospitals have reached out to me. I already have a whole spreadsheet full of people asking all around the country. So people are finding out about our campaign, and they are either donating or asking for help. And another interesting thing, especially when you get to projects that you can do that could help you develop professionally, I received an email last night, and I haven't been able to go over it in full detail, but instead of creating an actual face shield, apparently there's a way to create an N95 mask from home. And I don't know how to do that because I haven't fully delved into the details of it yet. But the N95 masks, as I'm sure most of you know, are in very short supply. Nobody can really get their hands on the good ones, with the respirators especially. And apparently there's a do-it-yourself technique at home that you can do. And just by launching this GoFundMe, somebody contacted me and wrote a whole long email all about it. And like I said, I haven't gotten around to fully getting all the details yet. But stuff like that starts spreading like wildfire. Knowledge is shared remotely. People getting together, like I said before. You know, I didn't even know that was possible. I thought it had to be made in a factory, and apparently it doesn't. So being able to help out the world, you know, with people getting together with the same goals is something that you can do. And if you're looking to develop professionally remotely, that is absolutely something you can do. And you can tackle projects that are not just random projects, but stuff that is needed. And that might be an interesting project for, you know, all of you to do. It's something that we're trying to do as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that, Zach. And I mean, out of curiosity, so for you all at Shark Wheel, what prompted the thought of like, oh, we can actually, you know, assist with this problem, and then deciding to go ahead and launch that GoFundMe account?
You know, I think it's just seeing the media every day, all day long, and seeing these hospitals that can't get the equipment that they need, and just seeing that there's a need for it. And, you know, Shark Wheel, we consider ourselves a rapid prototyping shop. You know, we have a professional mold maker on staff. He's 2 Oscars, 2 Emmys. He's the guy that built the Batman suit. You know, we have the Iron Man mask sitting in our offices. He did that. So we have a lot of talent on our staff, and we wanted to use that talent, you know. We have 3D printers in house. We have all the mold making supplies that anyone could ever wish for. We have a full, you know, prototyping division, and that's what we do. So why not use that to do some good right now to people that really need it? You know, obviously to combat this thing, we have to all work together, and this seemed like a great project to do. And I've had quite a few hospitals email me. I've had an anesthesiologist email me. I have this guy email me, and they're like, how much, you know, are the masks? How much are they? How quickly can you get them out? It's like, they're 100% free. Like, we're not trying to make a penny off of this, but we are trying to cover our costs. You know, we're a small business, and we don't have extra cash sitting around under our mattress. So we need help. But we're willing to give that help. So that's where it all started. We're just trying to do what we can. We heard some of the local hospitals around our offices do not have the supplies that we need. We heard that, you know, they're using the same masks at the ER and running up to the maternity ward wearing the same masks. And it's like, we obviously, none of us want that happening.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And then Matthew, I think you just joined the conversation. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself for a quick second. And then, please feel free to share a career concern, but just so you know, we've sort of covered a few different things, but feel free to ask, and then we might just, I might send you the recording later or something, but.
Yeah, hello. I'm Matthew Tutunchi. I'm a ECE major, computer engineering, and yeah, hello. I guess a quite good question would be is that one thing I'm a little bit worried about, because the thing is I'm trying to get an internship this summer, and like I'm just worried about like, am I gonna be able to actually go there? Like when if I get accepted, am I gonna be able to actually go there and actually do the internship? Because I'm worried that because of the current academic, so it's gonna severely affect my academics, and I really don't want that because I want to learn and everything. So then I want to ask, what do you think is gonna happen because of the current coronavirus? Do you think I'm gonna be able to actually receive these internships and stuff like that? Or do you think because of the current conditions, I'm not going to be able to actually have my internship?
Sure. So.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
Sorry.
Alexis.
Yeah, just really briefly. So we talked a little bit about internship opportunities, and so I'm happy to recap with you later, Matthew. But I would say in terms of this actual can I physically go to these internships in person? I don't necessarily have an answer, and so I'm not going to guess. But I would say that at the moment, looking for more remote internship opportunities is probably a good call as you're doing this search. So that's, the first thing I'll say. And then Zach, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think we did cover this earlier, so you could listen to the recording, but just to answer really quickly, since it's, thank you for joining this, I'll just answer it super quick. And there's thousands of remote positions for engineers out there. I had said in the beginning, I went on Indeed.com and I did a 100-mile radius search from where I'm sitting right now, and there was 1,300 job listings posted today for remote engineers. So who knows how many there are in the country, but yes, there are plenty of opportunities out there, especially for interns. And you could listen to the whole recording, but the answer is yes.
Great, thanks so much, Zach. So if any of you have any additional questions, if you want to just go ahead and type them into the chat, I think that might be a good way for us to do this, so we're not interrupting each other. But Zach, I have a question for you. So being, the CEO of Shark Wheel, what are some of the challenges that you're facing right now, in light of COVID-19, or really even just in general, just so we can get a pulse on what is industry experiencing?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't even think we know the totality of it yet, because one of the big things is we don't know how long it's going to last. Unfortunately, my prediction, even though it's worth nothing, is that it's going to last a long time. I think that we're going to be massively affected by this, potentially forever. There's going to be so many businesses that don't recover, but without getting into the huge picture of it, focusing on Shark Wheel, it's actually positively impacted us in certain areas and negatively impacted us in other areas. So obviously we're a wheel company, and there's so many different things that wheels are on, so many different industries. So to give you one that it's hurt us severely in is luggage. So Shark Wheel sells on Samsonite luggage. We sell on Harley Davidson luggage. We sell on Sky Valet luggage. We actually, even though during this crazy time, we just signed a deal to go on all military bags. So all military deployment bags will have Shark Wheels on them. But that's the only positive news for the luggage industry. As you can imagine, nobody's traveling. All luggage sales are down. And we do licensing deals in luggage. So our royalties, we're waiting for our Q1 2020 royalties coming any day now. And we know that it's going to be a lot less than it has been in the past. And we know it's going to be a lot less as we move on in this year. Nobody's traveling, nobody's buying luggage. That's not at the top of anybody's list right now. So the luggage travel industry is, severely hurt. But on the other side of the coin, we have stuff that's growing. First of all, our skateboard sales have been threefold what they've ever been, which is shocking. So online, I sign on just in the morning. You know, I wake up, I sign on, and it's like, wow, I can't believe it. You know, our sales are triple what they normally are. So that's not to be expected. And I don't know, I guess people are sitting around trying to buy stuff right now. But really where we see a huge difference is in the medical industry. So we're trying to close the biggest deal in Shark Wheel's history. It's an 8-figure per year deal that just changes the entire scope of our company moving forward. And it's with a company, we're under NDA, so I can't say who it is, but it's an industry leading company that supplies all the medical carts for essentially every hospital in the United States. They're at all the TSA, you know, airport checks. Anytime you see a computer screen on a cart with wheels, it's this company. And they're looking for innovation in their casters and their wheels. And every square inch of their cart has an advantage over their competition. Their battery life on their carts lasts 40 hours. Their competitions last 12 hours. Their carts are 30% lighter than any of their competitors' carts. And most importantly, their carts are made of 100% stainless steel, so they can go through these things called enclaves that they're now using, which is a big deal. They're disinfecting all of the carts. So at hospitals, they go through, it's like this, they get put into a room and essentially a robot comes in and disinfects the carts. Now, only this company's carts can be disinfected because the other companies use cheaper materials and they can't be put into an enclave. So the company that we're working with, they have a whole marketing story they tell for every inch of the cart, except for the caster. They buy the same caster as everybody else. So from a marketing perspective, they're looking for an advantage. And from a performance perspective, we go over obstacles better than a circular wheel. We swivel on a dime much better than a circular wheel. And when you're talking about a piece of important equipment that's in an emergency room that's being flung side to side, it can't have any issues with it whatsoever. And so they're looking at us from a performance perspective as well. And they are inundated with orders right now. As you can imagine, the medical industry is just skyrocketing for a reason we all don't want, but that's the truth of the matter. That's just the reality of the situation, is that the medical industry is growing rapidly. So they are putting a lot of pressure on Shark Wheel to develop this wheel within the next 6 months. So that is at the top of our list. It's at the top of our priority list to try to close the biggest deal we've ever had. So from that perspective, that's good news in this new world we're living in. So really we have ups and downs on both sides of the equation. We're in many other areas. We're in the material handling industry. So Costco and Amazon are hiring 100,000 plus employees, or maybe it's Walmart hiring 100,000 plus employees. So they're moving so many more materials than they've ever moved. Costco just had to rent all of these pallet jacks and forklift trucks to meet with, you know, the current demand. So that side of the world is up tremendously. But then again, you have other sides where it's more of a luxury item and people are not spending as much money on luxury items. So we're seeing both sides of the coin.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for sharing that. It's interesting getting to hear, you know, your perspective as someone who leads your company, in terms of just how in some areas, you know, you're doing really well, and then in other industries, because you really work across industries, you know, you're seeing more of an impact. So I think that's good to keep in mind, I think, for everybody when you're thinking about engineering. I know that there's a lot of mechanical engineers here, so there are certain areas that could be hit, you know, harder than others, but there are certain areas that could be, yeah, like as you said, doing really well, not for reasons that we want, but yeah, it's absolutely true to think about, you know, what's the job outlook like right now. We got a question about how important are qualifications like the fundamentals of engineering exam to employers. I'm not sure if you could speak to this at all, Zach. Have you heard of, you know, the fundamentals of engineering exam? Or
I'm going to stay very far away from that question.
Sure.
I'm not going to pretend to know the answer. So.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it likely depends on the position that you're going for. And so we can definitely, you know, speak more about that a little later. if you want to email me or something like that, because yeah, I think it really depends on the company and the position that you're going for. I think right now I am getting questions about like, would this extra certification help me, because would it make me look more competitive when the competition might get more fierce since there are maybe fewer positions. So I understand, where that's coming from. But I think it depends, like truly. And like Zach was saying, if you're going for an internship type position, in some ways, anyways, no, I don't think I want to say that. I would just say it really depends. And so let's continue the conversation, because if there's a particular position you're looking at, I'm happy to look at that job description with you and we can see, what makes sense. Osvaldo asked, referencing the earlier discussion about COVID-19, do you think any small companies in the community will end up manufacturing face masks for the medical community as well?
They are. So what we did was, when our idea to do this came up, we scoured the internet trying to figure out how to do this. We don't know how to build face shields. We have no idea. I mean, we make wheels. So we ended up landing on a Facebook page for the 3D printing community, and we asked to join. It was a private group, so we asked to join, and they already had the files done. So once they knew what we were trying to make, they gave us access to those files. We didn't have to make it up off the top of our heads and hope that people liked the shields we were making. We downloaded the files that they had already. And the 3D printing community online, at least through this Facebook group, it's unbelievable. So what happened was, I went on the page, I connected with a couple local companies right away that, to try to help each other accelerate, like where they were weak maybe in certain production, we could help out, and vice versa. And then I think it was 24 hours later, I went back on the page to try to get some more information from that thread. And there was like 60 posts it was 24 hours. And I had to go down so many, I couldn't even find where I had originally posted because it was so far down the page. So there's so much activity going on these pages, and so many companies trying to help out. We're not the only ones, trust me, which is a very good thing. Because we can only make 100 a day. There's, millions of people that need help. So we can only do this if we all work together. And I know for a fact there's many companies out there doing this. And it's really great to see. So, there's a whole community of people, and this is just one Facebook page. Who knows how many people are out there? I was talking to a guy in New Jersey, and he really needed, he was making 100 face shields a day, like the actual, the shield part, but had no idea how to make the attachment parts, and he wanted help making the attachments. And for us, the attachments are much easier to make than the shields. So we're trying to partner with companies, trying to work together. So yes, I know that there's so many companies out there doing this.
Yeah, I love that. And that's what I've been seeing too, mostly on LinkedIn. People post and they're being able to say, this is what we can do. If we can find a partner who can do that other piece, around everything. So engineering, personal protective equipment, to, if you've recently been laid off, I'm really good at, helping to coach you. So people, I feel like, are really trying across industry to help one another, which is a really beautiful thing that I think we're seeing right now. So thank you for that question, Osvaldo. Another one from Tate. I'm so sorry if I keep saying your name wrong, but how important is the GPA on the resume?
I love that question. So I love that question because, so I can give you my personal opinion, and then I can give you maybe a more general opinion. But let me put it to you this way. If I was interviewing two different people, and one of them had a 4.0 and the other one had a 3.1, I would look at it. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, it's one little miniature piece of the puzzle. And again, I'm just giving you my personal opinion. And then one person is, very passionate, very interested, very, kind of all those intangibles that don't have a number next to them. And they start checking the boxes for me on those. And they look like a real hard worker. They look like they just really want to become a part of the team. and they really, you know, show the hard work, the effort, the energy, and the passion, that's somebody that I want to hire. I don't care if it says 4.0 or 3.3 or whatever the number is. That is near the bottom of my personal list. And again, everybody's different, you know, so that's for sure not going to work across the board. You know, if somebody sees Harvard University 4.0, perfect score on the SAT, they might just hire that person without even talking to them. That's not me. You know, I want to find out about the person. And, you know, what's interesting is Shark Wheel, we were on Shark Tank. And Shark Tank, if you know, I'm a student of Shark Tank. I love that show, and I've seen almost every episode, and I find it fascinating. And when you look at the sharks, that they're almost doing the same thing. They're kind of interviewing you, and what's interesting is some of the sharks only care, like Barbara. If you ever watch the show Barbara Corcoran, she only invests in people. So, and I think she's been the most successful shark actually, and she invests in the person. And she wants to know, are you a go-getter? Yeah, she listens to your numbers. How much revenue have you had? You know, the same type of thing. Like, what's your GPA? Okay, she's listening. She's listening, but she's really investing in the person. And while some of the other sharks that don't have as good of a track record, they are investing on the paperwork. So I'm not a paperwork person. I'm a people person. And again, I can't speak for everybody, but I think that who you are as a person and what drive you show is much more attractive than a number on a piece of paper.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think that you have an entire application package to show what you bring to the table, and it's about more than your GPA. I know that, just as Zach said, certain companies, it's going to be more important for them, that GPA or whatever piece of the puzzle, and it really depends on the position. But I would say continuing to develop what your value is, whatever that is, that whole package, that you are hardworking, that you have experience, you know, in part-time jobs and volunteer experiences and your extracurriculars, is going to show a lot more about what you're capable of. I think it's the dean of the College of Engineering who likes to say that those, you know, what is it? Hard skills, like the hardcore engineering type stuff, will get you that entry-level position, but it's those soft, essential people kind of skills that are going to take you every other step of your career. So that's a really important piece to be building out for yourself. And so I would say, like, you know, GPA is going to be important for those internships and maybe that first position. And then after that, I don't think anyone's ever since asked me, like, can I see your transcript? What kind of grades did you get in college? It really stops mattering, like, pretty quickly. But not to say that doing well in school is not important. It's very important to know these essential skills so that you can, you know, get that job kind of thing. But I think that hopefully the hope is that we're all looking at people more holistically about what they bring to the table, you know, in all areas instead of just academics, right? So that's a really good question. So thank you for asking it. Okay, well, I think that we're just about at the end of the hour. Yeah, there's no more questions in the chat. Thank you so much for your time, Zach. It was really helpful. And I really enjoyed hearing your perspective. So, and thanks, you know, for what you're doing with the personal protective equipment. I think that those kinds of stories and that kind of action is really what we need right now. And so for me personally, it's just inspiring to think about, you know, what challenging me too, what can I do from my kitchen and in my role to help others. So thank you.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. I had a great time. Hopefully it was